The year is 1943. The skies over Europe are a bloody canvas, painted with the desperate courage of young American airmen. They flew in the unblinking sun, in formations so precise they were called the flying boxcars, carrying a promise of precision that was supposed to cripple the Third Reich. Yet, the reality was a brutal, humbling failure. German propaganda sheets mocked them, calling their bombs strategic, only in the sense that they landed somewhere, anywhere, but never where they were aimed. The vaunted American industrial might, their incredible B-17 flying fortresses, and their brave crews were being humiliated, their attacks reduced to a grim, random lottery. The Third Reich laughed, confident that the daylight raids were a costly, toothless spectacle. They had no idea that hidden in the belly of every bomber, a secret weapon, a device of almost mystical complexity, was waiting to unleash a new kind of war, a war of surgical precision. The dawn breaks over the English countryside, a soft, pastoral scene of rolling green hills and slumbering villages, a stark contrast to the grim purpose of the men gathered on the airfields. The pilots and navigators of the 8th Air Force, still half asleep and fueled by cold coffee and nervous energy, walk the pre-flight checklists. Their faces, young and full of a mixture of bravado and dread, are lit by the flickering lamps in the briefing huts. They are the cream of America's youth, plucked from farms and cities to fly a mission so dangerous it has a 50% chance of being their last. This morning, their target is a ball-bearing factory in Schweinfurt, a critical node in the Nazi war machine. The briefing officer, a weary man with eyes that have seen too much, points to a dot on a large map. He speaks of pinpoint accuracy, of taking out the enemy's industrial heart. The words are meant to inspire confidence, but the men know the truth. They know what happened at Hamburg, at Kiel, at the endless succession of targets where their bombs fell not on the factories, but on the surrounding villages, on empty fields, on nothing at all. They know the mockery. They see the captured German newspapers and hear the reports from intelligence that laugh at their blind bombardiers. In the belly of a B-17 named Memphis Belle, Sergeant Joe Miller, the lead bombardier, wipes a bead of sweat from his brow. He is a quiet man from Ohio, his hands more accustomed to a wrench than a bomb sight. Beside him, the navigator, Lieutenant Jack Carter, a Harvard graduate with a keen intellect, checks his charts. They share a look, an unspoken understanding of the odds. On this flight, their destiny and the fate of the entire mission rests on a strange, cumbersome contraption mounted in the nose of the bomber, the Norden bomb sight. It is a thing of chrome and brass, gyroscopes and gears, shrouded in so much secrecy that the men who use it are sworn to an oath of silence. They are taught to protect it with their lives, to destroy it if they must, to never let it fall into enemy hands. The story goes that it is a thing of such divine precision that it can drop a bomb into a pickle barrel from 20,000 feet. The reality is far from the legend. The Norden, in its current state, is a temperamental beast, a symphony of fragile moving parts easily thrown off by the slightest jolt, the smallest gust of wind, a mere whisper of vibration. Its promised accuracy is an elusive ghost. As the formation lifts off and the ground falls away, the sky fills with the throbbing sound of 1,000 engines. The crews settle into their routines, the gunners checking their turrets, the pilots maintaining a rigid formation. The journey across the North Sea is a tense, silent affair, a time for reflection and prayer. Then, the coastline of occupied France appears, and with it, the German fighter patrols. The sky erupts in a deadly ballet of tracer fire and desperate evasive maneuvers. The bombers hold their line, a fragile armada against a sea of furious, buzzing gnats. One B-17 goes down, a fiery corkscrew of metal and men. Another limps away, its engine a smoking ruin. The men on the Memphis Belle watch in horror, their knuckles white on their controls. They are so focused on the fight, so consumed by the sheer terror of survival, that they almost forget the reason they are here. The ball-bearing factory, the precision strike. When they finally break through the fighter screens and the German flak begins to pepper the sky, a different kind of dread sets in. They are alone, high above the target, and the time has come to make the Norden bomb site work. Joe Miller, the bombardier, stares into the sight's small eyepiece, his hands trembling. The moment of truth has arrived, but he knows, as do all the other bombardiers in the formation, that the promised miracle is a lie. The wind drifts them off course. The slightest change in altitude throws the intricate calculations into chaos. They will release their bombs, but they will not hit the factory. They will hit the surrounding streets, the homes, the empty fields. The mockery will continue. As the flak bursts closer and the ground rushes up to meet them, Joe Miller makes a decision, a quiet act of rebellion. He will not drop the bombs. He will not be a part of this tragic feudal charade. He will risk a court-martial, he will risk the wrath of his superiors, but he will not unleash this indiscriminate destruction. He will hold on to the bombs, an act of silent defiance. This mission, he realizes, is not about hitting the target. It's about surviving the flight. But what he doesn't know is that far below, in a secret facility hidden deep in the American Midwest, a team of engineers is working on a new kind of Norden, one that promises to be so different, so advanced, that it might just change the course of the war. The Memphis Belle returns to base, riddled with holes, its tail gunner wounded, but alive. The mission is a declared failure. The ball-bearing factory remains untouched. The debriefing is a tense, grim affair. Joe Miller, the bombardier, is a pariah. He is questioned about his failure to release the bombs. He holds his ground, citing technical difficulties, the turbulence, the unreliability of the site. The debriefing officers, weary and cynical, know he is lying. They can smell the insubordination on him, but they are also tired of the failures, of the endless parade of missed targets. They let him go with a warning, a temporary reprieve. Joe walks back to his bunk, the weight of his decision heavy on his shoulders. He is a soldier, but he is also a man, and the thought of causing such devastation for no strategic gain is a moral bridge he cannot cross. His quiet defiance, however, does not go unnoticed. An observer from a Special Projects Division, a man named Dr. Robert Langston, watches from the shadows. Langston is a physicist, not a military man, and he sees in Miller not an insubordinate soldier, but a man with a moral compass, a man who understands the terrible weight of this war. Langston knows the Norden's flaws better than anyone. He was part of the original design team, and he has watched with mounting frustration as his creation, a thing of scientific beauty, has become a tool of random destruction. He has a new prototype, a secret project, a Norden Bombsight 2.0. It is a radical redesign, incorporating new gyroscopic technology and a revolutionary feedback loop that can compensate for even the slightest atmospheric disturbances. But the military is a bureaucracy, slow to change, skeptical of new technology, and wedded to the idea of the original Norden, a device they have already invested billions of dollars in. Langston needs a test pilot, a man he can trust, a bombardier who understands the limits of the old system and is willing to risk everything to prove the new one works. He approaches Miller in the mess hall, away from prying eyes. Langston speaks of the pickle barrel legend, but not as a fairy tale. He speaks of it as a goal, a scientific problem to be solved. He offers Miller a chance at redemption, a chance to fly a mission so secret, so high risk, that it doesn't even exist on the official flight logs. The mission is to fly a solo raid, deep into German territory, to a remote, abandoned airfield with no strategic value. It is a pure test, a controlled experiment to prove the new Norden's accuracy. If it fails, they will both be court-martialed and their careers will be over. But if it succeeds, it could change the entire strategic bombing campaign. The stakes are impossibly high. Miller agrees, a sense of purpose rekindled in his tired eyes. The next few weeks are a blur of secret flights and long hours in a hidden hangar, training on the new Norden. It is a completely different machine. The old one was a delicate instrument, a thing of pure mathematics and intricate mechanics. The new one is a brute, a powerful, self-correcting engine of precision. It feels alive in his hands. It compensates for the wind, for the slightest tremor of the bomber. Miller feels a new kind of hope, a hope he thought had long since died. The day of the secret mission arrives. They take off in a stripped-down B-17, just a pilot, a navigator, and Miller with his new Norden. They fly low under the radar, a ghost in the vast sky. But as they near the target, a storm rolls in, a violent, roiling tempest of wind and rain. The turbulence is immense. The bomber is tossed around like a toy. It's the ultimate test. Miller looks at Langston, his face a mask of cold fear. The physicist just nods. This is what they trained for. This is what they hope to avoid. Miller clamps his hands on the Norden's controls, his body braced against the violent shaking of the plane. The wind screams, the rain pelts the windows, and the world outside is a blur of gray. He knows with an absolute certainty that no man-made instrument could possibly work in this chaos. The old Norden would have failed completely, its delicate gyros spinning out of control. He closes his eyes and trusts the machine. He trusts the science. He pushes the button. He releases the bombs. There is no triumphant explosion, no mushroom cloud of smoke and fire. Just the hollow thud of the bombs leaving the plane, swallowed by the storm below. They turn back, the bomber limping, battered but intact. They don't know if they hit the target. They don't know if the mission was a success or a complete, utter failure. They won't know until the spy planes fly over in a few days. The wait is unbearable. The silence in the cockpit is a deafening roar. Langston looks at Miller, his face grim. "If they fail, they will come for both of us," he says. The future of their careers and the future of the war hangs in the balance. The waiting is a special kind of torment. Days bleed into one another, each one a slow, agonizing crawl. Joe Miller and Dr. Robert Langston are confined to the base, their secret mission, a hushed rumor that circulates among the men. The other bombardiers, still flying their daily, futile raids, look at Miller with a mixture of pity and resentment. They see a man who defied the system and lost. They don't know the truth, don't know what he risked. Langston, ever the scientist, tries to distract himself with calculations and technical drawings. He reruns the numbers, checks his formulas, but the unknown variable of the storm, of the actual drop, haunts him. The Norden 2.0 was a beautiful theory, but the proof is in the pudding, or in this case, in the crater. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the intelligence report arrives. The envelope is sealed, its contents known only to the highest command. Langston and Miller are summoned to the commanding officer's office. The air is thick with tension. The officer, a gruff but fair man, looks at them with an expression they can't decipher. He places a single black-and-white reconnaissance photograph on the desk between them. It is a high-altitude shot of the German airfield. At first glance, it looks like a blurry, uninteresting landscape. But then, as their eyes adjust, they see it. The bombs had landed. Not scattered across the airfield, not in the surrounding fields, but in a single tight cluster, an almost perfect bullseye in the very center of the target. A small secondary runway they had hoped to hit was obliterated. The accuracy was, to a statistical improbability, perfect. A wave of profound relief and triumph washes over Miller. Langston simply smiles, a tired but knowing look on his face. The science worked. The gamble paid off. The commanding officer looks up, a rare, genuine smile on his face. "Congratulations, gentlemen," he says. "You've just proven them wrong." The news of the successful test is a closely guarded secret, but the impact is immediate and dramatic. The Norden 2.0 is put into production on a crash course. The old bomb sites are quietly, unceremoniously replaced. The new ones are painted black, their old chrome gleam hidden. The pilots and crews are told nothing of the change, only that operational improvements have been made. The first mission with the new Norden is to the ball-bearing factory in Schweinfurt, the same target that had been a humiliating failure just weeks before. This time, the weather is clear, the sky is a brilliant, unforgiving blue. The German fighters are waiting, and the flak is even heavier than before. But something is different. The morale is higher. The men, still facing the brutal reality of their mission, now have a quiet confidence. Joe Miller is back in his bombardier's seat on the Memphis Belle, the new Norden humming beneath his fingertips. He looks down at the ground, at the German flak guns, at the puffs of smoke and the angry tracer fire. He feels no fear, only a profound sense of purpose. He is no longer dropping bombs into the vast unknown. He is aiming them. He is delivering a message of precision, a statement of intent. The target acquisition is faster, the calculations are more fluid, and the sight holds its lock with an almost supernatural tenacity. He makes the final corrections, his hands steady, his breath even. He sees the factory, the specific buildings, the critical nodes of production. He waits for the precise moment, the perfect convergence of speed, altitude, and trajectory. Then he releases the bombs. Below, in the German command bunkers, the Luftwaffe officers are laughing. Their spy reports tell them the American raid is coming. They know the American bombers are flying in broad daylight, a parade of sitting ducks. They have prepared for this. The flak batteries are in place, the fighters are scrambled, and the propaganda films are already being edited to show the Americans failing once again. They have not taken the Americans' precision bombing seriously for years. They call it pointless propaganda. They believe the Americans are not a threat, that their bombs are wasted on empty fields. They have no idea what is about to happen. They don't know about the new Norden, about the silent revolution taking place in the skies above them. They have not prepared for a surgical strike. They have prepared for a scattergun. The German officer in charge of the Schweinfurt defenses watches the American formation approach, a sneer on his face. He gives the order to open fire. The sky fills with explosions, a deadly, chaotic cloud of shrapnel and smoke. He is so confident of their success, so smug in his belief of American incompetence that he doesn't even notice the small, insignificant change in the American approach. The bombers are holding their course, their bomb doors open, and for the first time, they are not scattering their bombs. They are aiming them. The bombs fall from the bellies of the B-17s not as a random, indiscriminate rain, but as a tightly clustered, deliberate hammer. Below, the German flak commanders, so accustomed to the sight of scattered craters, are baffled. The bombs are hitting the factory. One after another, with a sickening thud of precision, they find their mark. The ball-bearing factory, a complex network of interconnected buildings and machinery, begins to shudder and collapse. Explosions rip through the main production halls. Fires erupt. The German officers in the command bunker stare at their monitors in stunned silence. The mocking laughter dies in their throats. Their defenses, designed to create a chaotic, confusing barrage, are useless against an enemy that is no longer guessing. The Americans, for the first time, are truly hitting their targets. The flak batteries are not the primary defense, but a secondary one. The pilots flying a straight course are taking immense risks, but they are also providing their bombardiers with the steady platform they need. The Norden 2.0, working in concert, is performing its promised magic. A critical turning point in the air war has just occurred, and the Germans don't even know why. The raids continue for weeks, and the pattern holds. The German war machine begins to feel the effects of the new precision. The oil refineries, the synthetic rubber plants, the submarine pens, all begin to take on a deadly kind of surgical damage. German industry, once a seemingly untouchable fortress, is now a target. The Nazis, in their desperation, begin to change their propaganda. The mockery turns to a kind of baffled fury. The American blunders become ruthless, precise attacks. The American pilots, once a source of comedic derision, are now portrayed as cold, calculating butchers. They have no idea how the Americans are doing it. They theorize about new spy technology, about traitors in their own ranks, about a secret weapon. The Norden bomb site is an almost mythological concept to them, a theoretical problem they have not bothered to solve. They had been so confident in American incompetence that they had failed to prepare for American innovation. As the damage mounts, the Nazi high command, including Hitler himself, begins to take notice. The bombing raids are no longer a sideshow. They are a genuine threat. The German high command orders a full investigation. They capture several downed American bombers, but the Norden bomb site is either missing, destroyed, or too badly damaged to be of any use. The secret is safe, for now. Meanwhile, back on the American bases, a new feeling has taken hold. The men are still tired, still afraid, but the missions now have a sense of purpose. They are no longer a grim lottery. They are a job, a deadly, difficult, but achievable task. The new Norden is a silent hero, an unassuming black box that has brought a new kind of confidence to the crews. Joe Miller, the bombardier who held his bombs, is now a hero in his own right, though few know the truth of what he did. He is seen as a man who can hit the target, a man with a steady hand and a keen eye. He is the quiet embodiment of the new precision. He flies mission after mission, each one a testament to the power of a simple scientific principle. He is no longer just a bombardier. He is a surgeon, a man who cuts to the heart of the enemy's strength. But with every successful mission, the enemy grows more desperate, more determined to find out their secret. They are now hunting not just the bombers, but the black boxes within them. The stakes have been raised. A new kind of game, a game of cat and mouse, has begun in the high, cold, unforgiving skies of Europe. A game for control of the ultimate secret weapon. The German response is swift and brutal. Recognizing the shift in American bombing tactics, they deploy a new generation of fighter pilots and a revised strategy. They are no longer content with simply harassing the bomber formations. Their objective is now to specifically target the lead bombers, the ones carrying the most experienced bombardiers, and the new, unknown technology. The skies over Germany become a hunting ground, with the Luftwaffe pilots now focused on decapitating the American formations. The American losses begin to mount again, but this time the price is not paid in futility, but in strategic gains. The bombing campaign is working. The Germans are forced to divert resources from the Eastern Front, from the desperate fight against the Soviets, to protect their industrial heartland. The war, which had been a stalemate in the air, is now slowly, irrevocably turning. In the belly of a B-17, Joe Miller and his crew are on a mission to bomb a synthetic oil plant in Ploesti, a target so heavily defended it has earned the nickname the Graveyard of the Eighth. The flak is so thick it looks like a solid wall of black smoke. The German fighter pilots are swarming, their new tactics deadly and effective. The B-17s are being picked off one by one. The Memphis Belle takes a direct hit to an engine. It sputters, then catches fire. The pilot, a young man named Frank, fights the controls, trying to keep the plane steady. Joe knows their time is running out. He has only one shot, one chance to hit the target before they are forced to bail out. He is the lead bombardier in the formation. The other bombers are counting on him. He looks through the Norden sight, the world below a maelstrom of explosions and smoke. The turbulence from the failing engine is immense. The plane is shaking violently. The old Norden would have been useless, but the new one holds. The crosshairs are locked on the target. He takes a deep breath, his hands steady on the controls. The pilot shouts over the intercom, "We're going down, Joe! Drop 'em and get ready to jump!" Joe knows he can't wait. He has to trust the machine. He releases the bombs. There is a moment of pure, terrifying silence as the bombs fall into the chaos below. Then a massive explosion. The oil plant, a sprawling complex of pipes and tanks, erupts in a massive fireball. The mission is a success, but at a terrible price. The Memphis Belle, its purpose fulfilled, spirals out of control, a flaming wreck hurtling towards the earth. The crew bails out, a desperate, frantic scramble in the smoking cockpit. Joe Miller is the last to go, making sure the Norden is either destroyed or too badly damaged to be of any use. He pushes the self-destruct button, a small, insignificant click that will save the secret of the new Norden. He jumps into the cold, unforgiving air, the sound of the exploding B-17, a thunderous roar behind him. He lands in a field, the German soldiers swarming him. He is a prisoner of war. The Germans, desperate to find the secret of the new American precision, are waiting for him. They will interrogate him. They will torture him. They will do anything to get the secret of the new bomb site. But Joe Miller is a man of quiet courage, a man who held his bombs when no one else would, and he will hold his secret now. He will not betray his country. He will not betray the men who died for this secret. He is in a German prison camp, a cold, gray place of hopelessness and despair, but he carries the secret of the new Norden with him, a symbol of American ingenuity and a beacon of hope for the future. The Germans, in their frustration, will try every trick in the book, but they will not break him. The war rages on, but the balance of power has shifted, and the German military, without knowing why, is slowly, irrevocably losing the air war. They are losing the battle of the skies, and they have no idea that the silent, secret weapon they are looking for is locked in a German prison, in the mind of a single, unassuming man. The final act of the air war over Europe is not a single, dramatic battle, but a slow, grinding siege. The relentless, pinpoint precision of the American bombers, now armed with the new Norden, begins to dismantle the German war machine piece by piece. The oil refineries, the synthetic fuel plants, the transportation hubs, the communication centers, all are systematically targeted and destroyed. The Germans, in their desperation, divert their best fighter pilots to defend their own skies, leaving the Eastern Front vulnerable. The German army, running on empty, is slowly being bled dry. The Soviets, no longer facing the full might of the German Air Force, push forward. The war on the ground, a stalemate for so long, begins to move. The German high command in their bunkers and their fortresses grow more and more frustrated. They still have no idea why the Americans are so accurate. They've captured a few bombardiers, but none of them have talked. They've found and examined the destroyed bomb sites, but they are just useless metal and wire. The secret, the source of their frustration, remains a mystery. In a German POW camp, Joe Miller is a ghost of his former self. He is thin, his face is gaunt, and his eyes are hollow with a kind of terrible exhaustion. The interrogations have been brutal, a relentless, soul-crushing assault on his will. They have threatened his family, they have promised him freedom, they have used every psychological trick in the book. But Joe has held on. He thinks of the men he flew with, the ones who didn't make it back. He thinks of Dr. Langston and his faith in science. He thinks of the mission, of the ball-bearing factory, of the oil plant. He held on to his bombs then, and he holds on to this secret now. It is a quiet act of defiance, a silent protest against a regime that had once mocked him and his countrymen. He knows deep in his bones that his sacrifice is not in vain. He knows that the men in the skies, the men who still fly the B-17s, are hitting their targets. He knows that the war is slowly, surely being won. And the German High Command, in their desperate and final act, makes one last monumental mistake. They move their last remaining fighter squadrons to the defense of their capital, believing that by protecting Berlin, they will protect their command structure and their war. They put all their eggs in one basket, a final, desperate gamble. The Allied forces, now on the continent, are pushing forward. Their ground forces, a tidal wave of men and machinery. But the final nail in the coffin of the Third Reich is not a ground battle. It is an air raid. A massive, unholy convergence of American and British bombers. A final triumphant procession through the skies of Germany. The American bombers, flying in perfect, majestic formations, have a single target. The last desperate concentration of German fighter power protecting Berlin. The German fighters rise to meet them. A final, furious show of force. The air is filled with the roar of engines, the crackle of tracer fire, and the silent, deadly hum of the new Norden bomb sites. The German pilots, the best of the best, fight with a kind of desperate, hopeless fury. But they are outmatched. They are fighting an enemy that has a secret, a weapon of such power and precision that it has changed the very nature of war. The American bombardiers, with Joe Miller's secret humming in their ears, systematically destroy the German fighter bases, the command centers, and the airfields. The Luftwaffe is gone. The skies are open. The war is over. The Third Reich, a monstrous machine built on propaganda and lies, is finally broken. The American bombing campaign, once a source of bitter mockery, had become the weapon that won the war. The men who flew in the flying fortresses, the men who put their trust in a strange black box, had not just dropped bombs. They had dropped the future. The war, for them, had been a battle of science and technology, a battle they had won in the clouds, a battle for which one man, a quiet bombardier, paid the ultimate price, a silent hero in a story no one would ever truly know. The Germans, for all their intelligence and all their resources, had never been able to comprehend the one thing that had truly defeated them, the power of American ingenuity, and a single silent machine that had proved them wrong.